Hello students, this is Retailing and Logistics Management class and today we will cover the topic consumer behavior. Consumer behavior is very important topic. So first of all, what is consumer behavior and how is consumer behavior? First of all, meaning of consumer behavior. Consumer behavior is the study of how consumers make decisions about what they need, want, and desire, and how do they buy, use, and dispose of goods. So, first of all, what is consumer behavior? Consumer behavior is the detailed study of what consumers actually want, how they take decision for buying particular goods and services, what they desire, and how they buy goods and how they use goods and how they dispose goods after their final use. So consumer behavior is the study of all these things, or study of consumer behavior provides quotients to the number of problems like what consumers want, how they want, and to what price they want. All these decisions, all these queries we can solve by the study of consumer behavior. So before introducing any product, before entering into the market, study of consumer behavior is very important. Next is, how is consumer behavior? By understanding how consumers decide on a product, it is possible for marketers to fill in the gap and identify which product is needed and which products are obsolete in the market. It also helps marketers decide how to present their products such that they have a maximum impact on consumers. So, study of consumer behavior is very important in retailing. It is very important in studying the behavior in every aspect or in every field. Study of consumer behavior is very important. So after studying, it is possible for marketer or possible for a businessman to fill the gap and identify the actual product which is actually needed by the consumer. So with the help of consumer behavior, with the study of consumer behavior, marketer can introduce only that product which is actually required by the consumers, and they introduce only that product which have a positive impact on the minds of consumers. So next is consumer behavior analysis. What consumer behavior reveals? Consumer behavior provides number of solutions or provides number of information. First is consumer behavior helps to provide what is the consumer perception, what is the consumer choices, what consumer preferences are there, what things affects the consumer behavior, how communication is effective with the consumer, what are the consumer beliefs, what are the consumer customs, what are the consumer traditions. All these things can we get by study the consumer behavior. Next, consumer behavior reveals what consumer think and how they feel about various alternative. With the study of consumer behavior, we can get information about the brands or products, what they consumer feel about different brands, what brands are consumer oriented brands, and what brands are demanded by the consumers. By the study of consumer behavior, we can get the solution of number of problems. Next is, what influences the consumer to choose between various options. So next, by studying the consumer behavior, we can find out the number of things which influences the consumer behavior. Next is, consumer behavior help in researching about the products which consumer wants to shop. So all these things we get from the consumer behavior. Next is how consumers environment influences their behavior. See, generally consumer follow their relatives, friends, or advertisement media for choosing a particular product. So by studying the consumer behavior, we can understand, or we can find which thing is most influenced by the consumer, or through which media consumer is mostly influenced. So SWOT analysis is very important in consumer behavior. By doing SWOT analysis, we can get information about our strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and that SWOT analysis provides a solutions to the number of problems that we already discussed. Next is what affects the consumer behavior. First is marketing campaign. What medium of advertisement you are using? Effective advertisement affects the consumer behavior. If you are choosing a right advertisement message, then you are successful in persuading the consumers. And you have to use that medium of advertisement that consumer reminds for a longer period of time, and that good advertisement message influence the consumer for a larger period of time, and they easily affects the consumer and pursued the consumer to impulse purchases. Next is economic conditions and purchasing power. Next factor that influence the consumer behavior is economic conditions and purchasing power. See, if the consumer is having good income, his conditions are good, then definitely they'll demand more. Some personal factors are there which affects the buying of the consumer. And secondly, excellent product also affects the consumer, also pursued the consumer to buy for that particular product. Okay, first of all, availability of money pursued the consumer for buying particular product, as well as the features or good qualities of the product influences the consumer and motivates the consumer for buying particular product. Next is personal preferences. Sometimes some personal preferences, likings and dislikings, priorities are there that motivate us to buy a particular product. Next is group influence. That is very important. Group influence means you want to buy that product which your group want to buy, means which your society want to buy. Your society's thinking influence you to or motivate you to buy a particular product. Sometime you are buying some particular product which is impacted by education level and social factors. So every person have their own social customs, traditions, and that customs, traditions, or your group behavior also motivates you to buy a particular product. Next is types of consumer behavior. First is complex buying. Complex buying is very difficult stage of taking decision, because it involves in the purchase process and consumer research before buying. Complex buying is that stage in which consumer spends a lot of time in research before deciding about any particular goods or particular services or particular product. They have to spend a lot of time because he's educated, he knows the market very well. So it's the complex when it is difficult to decide about product. When you have number of alternatives, then you take a time for deciding about a particular product. That is complex buying. Next is dissonance reducing buying. It is also highly involved in the purchase process, but it has difficulties in differentiating the brands. He worries that they will regret their choice. Dissonance reducing buying means sometimes after buying or while buying, you have some worry that you had chosen a good product and you chosen that product which provides you benefit. If anything negative comes in your mind about the product, then this is dissonance reducing buying, means you are feeling a regret while choosing a particular product or after choosing a particular brand or product. Next is habitual buying. The consumer has very little improvement in the product or brand habitual pattern despite brand loyalty. Some consumers are brand loyal, or some consumers are particular producer loyal. Sometimes due to that loyalty you are buying products from that particular producer or retailer only. That is habitual buying. You are having a habit of buying a product from that retailer or product of particular brand only. That is habitual buying. Like persons are wanted to buy a product of Duke only, some are wanted to buy a product of Woodland only. If they prefer the particular brand, means they are having a habit of buying that particular brand. That is known as habitual buying. Next is variety seeking buying. This is common. Generally, the layman follows this type of buying, purchases different products because they seek variety, not because they were not satisfied. Sometimes, or in the present time, consumers want variety. See, there are number of retailers in a market, and I am going to the market, I am choosing a product from that retailer who provides you variety. Okay, because I want something different, because today's is the age of fashion, so everyone wants different thing, latest thing. So if you want to buy a different product, then you can choose a product from any retailer who are going to provide you variety. Okay, if the person is not able to provide you a variety, then you skip that retailer, then move to the next retailer. So variety seeking buying is that you are you are going to buy a product from that retail shop which are providing you a variety. Okay. Thank you very much. These are the types of consumer buying. Thank you and keep studying.